Actress Natalie Wood was intoxicated and angry after an argument between her husband and actor Christopher Walken when she stormed off a yacht this weekend and apparently fell into the sea. The report said there was no evidence of foul play in the 43-year-old actress's death.
For over 40 years, one chilling question has haunted Hollywood. A question whispered in documentaries, scribbled in police files, and murmured during late-night interviews. At the center of it all stands Robert Wagner. Once praised for his charm and class, Wagner turned into something else entirely, a living mystery, a husband forever trapped between love, guilt, and suspicion. Now 95, his fame has faded, leaving behind a truth he's carried alone since that freezing night in 1981, the night that changed everything. It was Thanksgiving weekend, November 28th, when Hollywood's golden couple, Natalie Wood and Robert Wagner, set sail on their yacht, the Splendour. Joining them were Natalie's brainstorm co-star Christopher Walken and the yacht's captain, Dennis Davern. What was meant to be a calm weekend escape near Catalina Island became the night that would define Wagner's life forever. The day began with laughter and champagne. Locals at Doug's Harbor Reef restaurant even recalled seeing the group smiling and raising glasses to friendship. But as the night wore on, the mood shifted. Walken later admitted their conversation turned to Natalie's career. She wanted serious roles again, and that's when Wagner's jealousy started to spark. In his 2008 memoir, Pieces of My Heart, Wagner confessed, "Jealousy was the best and worst of me." By the time they returned to the yacht around 10 p.m., the warmth was gone. The captain remembered that the laughter had died out, replaced by tense whispers. Then, shouting. Davern said Wagner suddenly smashed a wine bottle, glass flying everywhere, yelling at Natalie and accusing her of flirting with Walken. His usually calm voice shook with fury. Walken tried to step in, but soon backed away to his cabin, leaving the couple alone. Moments later, the night went eerily still. Then, silence turned into fear. Natalie was gone. Wagner claimed he thought she'd gone to bed, but when he realized she wasn't there, panic set in. The yacht's small dinghy, the one used to reach shore, was also missing. But Natalie had always been terrified of deep water. The idea that she'd take that dinghy out alone, barefoot and in her nightgown, made no sense to anyone who knew her. At 3:30 a.m., Wagner finally called the Coast Guard. Search teams scanned the black ocean for hours, battling freezing winds. When dawn broke on November 29th, the truth surfaced. Literally. Natalie's body was found floating face down, just a mile from the yacht. She was only 43, wearing only a thin nightgown, socks, and a red parka, far too light for that bitter cold. The coroner ruled it an accident, but the bruises on her arms and legs, the scratches on her neck, and her lifelong fear of water told a darker story. Hollywood went silent, but the whispers never stopped. Jealousy, rage, regret, the shadows that haunted Robert Wagner ever since. In the days that followed, investigators rushed to close the case neatly. Wagner claimed that after arguing with Walken, Natalie had gone to bed and later tried to secure the dinghy. But his story raised more questions than answers. Wagner told police he heard the dinghy banging against the yacht's hull and thought Natalie had gone to fix it, only to slip and fall into the dark water. It sounded believable enough to calm the public for a while, but new details shattered that peace. Hours later, the dinghy, the Valiant, was found adrift, engine off, key still in the ignition, oars neatly tied down. Untouched. It didn't look like anyone had ever touched that dinghy. Investigators began asking questions fast. If Natalie really went to secure it, why didn't she untie the oars or turn on the motor? Even stranger, the light was off, and there were no footprints showing she'd climbed aboard. Nothing added up. Each new clue made the accident theory crumble. And then came the autopsy. Things got darker fast. Natalie's blood alcohol level was 0.14%, and traces of seasickness pills and painkillers were in her system, enough to make her dizzy and weak. But the real shock came from the bruises. Fresh, dark marks on her arms, knees, and face suggested a struggle before she ever hit the water. In 2013, the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office reopened the case and dropped a bombshell. They said Natalie's injuries might have happened before she went into the ocean. That one statement shattered the idea of a simple fall and opened the door to something far more chilling. Then came the witnesses, Marilyn Wayne and John Payne, anchored nearby on their own boat, said they heard a woman screaming for 15 minutes. "Help me! Someone please help me!" Wayne remembered the voice. Desperate, terrified, unforgettable. Then came a man's voice, calm but slurred. "Okay, honey, we're coming to get you." But no one ever did. The ocean went silent again. Over the years, Wagner's story kept changing. Sometimes just a little, sometimes a lot. In 1981, he told detectives Natalie simply vanished. Later, he claimed she went to tie up the dinghy. In his 2008 memoir, Pieces of My Heart, he called it a tragic accident. But investigators weren't convinced. Lieutenant John Carina from the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department said in 2018, "He's constantly changed his story a little bit, and it just doesn't add up." By 2012, the official cause of death shifted to drowning and other undetermined factors. Detectives even named Wagner a person of interest. His timeline made no sense, but with no solid proof or direct witnesses, no charges were filed. The case stayed trapped in limbo, half suspicion, half heartbreak. For Wagner, it became a shadow that followed him everywhere. But one person refused to stay quiet, Natalie's younger sister, Lana Wood. While Wagner disappeared from Hollywood, Lana stepped up, chasing one thing: justice. She never believed the official story. "My sister was terrified of water," she said again and again. "She would never go near that dinghy, especially not in her nightgown." In her 2021 memoir, Little Sister, My Investigation into the Mysterious Death of Natalie Wood, Lana made a shocking claim that Wagner's jealousy exploded into something dangerous that night. She said Captain Dennis Davern even confessed he'd lied to protect Wagner. Her words reignited a fire Hollywood thought had died long ago. According to Lana, the captain told her Wagner shouted in anger. Then a loud bang followed. Wagner allegedly ordered, "Don't turn on the lights. Don't call anyone." Those words rocked Hollywood to its core. Some believed Lana was chasing the truth everyone else was too afraid to face, while others said she was a grieving sister chasing ghosts. But one thing was undeniable. Lana's persistence forced the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department to reopen the case again. In 2011, new witnesses came forward and buried memories resurfaced. A fisherman, just 17 that night, claimed he heard a woman's terrified screams echoing across the dark water. Another acquaintance described Wagner's fiery temper back in the 1960s, revealing a darker side to the Hollywood gentleman everyone once adored. Every new piece chipped away at the clean version of events Wagner had stood by for decades. Yet even with all that, prosecutors still never pressed charges. Then came 2022, the twist no one saw coming. Police announced that Robert Wagner was officially cleared of any direct involvement. "All leads in the Natalie Wood case have been exhausted," read the statement. The case was closed, just like that. But for Lana Wood, it wasn't justice, it was betrayal. "If he truly loved my sister," she said, "why has he stayed silent before justice?" Even now, Lana refuses to let go. She's convinced Wagner knows more than he's ever said. He was the last person with her, she insists, and that silence is the loudest thing of all. Her words echo through decades of mystery, keeping suspicion alive while Hollywood tries to move on. After Natalie's death, Robert Wagner's world fell apart overnight. The man once seen as Hollywood's symbol of class and charm became a headline for all the wrong reasons. His carefully built image shattered the moment Natalie's body was pulled from the cold waters of Catalina Island. That night didn't just take his wife, it stole his identity. The public demanded answers, and the media wanted someone to blame. Tabloids splashed his face beside explosive words like murder, cover-up, and jealous rage. Every question thrown his way carried one heavy thought. Did you kill your wife, Wagner? The man once so comfortable under the spotlight started hiding from it instead. He canceled appearances, turned down interviews, and disappeared from Hollywood's glitz. Friends later said he became a ghost of himself, polite in public but hollow behind closed doors. For years, Wagner stayed silent, carrying rumors and grief like a curse. Then, in 2008, he finally broke that silence with his memoir, Pieces of My Heart. It wasn't a defense. It read like a confession drenched in sorrow. Not a day goes by that I don't think of Natalie, he wrote. I loved her with all my heart, and losing her was the darkest moment of my life. His words hit deep, but not everyone believed them. To some, he sounded like a broken man trying to heal. To others, he was rewriting history to save his name. And when the case reopened years later, all those old headlines came roaring back. Talk shows speculated. Tabloids tore apart every inconsistency, and even police admitted Wagner's version didn't quite add up. Still, he stayed silent, and that silence only made the whispers louder. Then, in 2020, a new voice stepped into the chaos. His daughter, Natasha Gregson Wagner. She released the documentary Natalie Wood, What Remains Behind, hoping to show the side of her parents buried under decades of scandal, love, pain, and loss. She didn't want to reopen wounds, just remind people there was more to their story. It's outrageous, Natasha said. People created this story about my dad, but he loved my mom. He would have given his life for her. She was only 11 when her mother died, and the pain still cuts deep. Her last moment with Natalie was a simple hug before the trip. She still remembers the softness of her mom's Angora sweater, the scent of her perfume, and the chill when she whispered, "Don't go." But even Natasha's compassion couldn't quiet the noise. Lana Wood kept speaking out, publicly accusing Wagner again and again, fueling a feud that tore the family apart. Fans took sides, Hollywood held its breath, and the mystery only grew colder and crueler. Whether guilty or innocent, one thing is clear. Robert Wagner has lived every single day since that night haunted by Natalie Wood's absence. For him, the real punishment wasn't the investigation. It was the silence that followed. By 2025, at 95 years old, he was frail, quiet, and still trapped by a past he could never escape. His body grew weaker, but his mind never escaped that night, replaying it like an old film on endless loop. Every argument, every sound, every second frozen in time. When Robert Wagner finally agreed to a recorded interview, his voice cracked under the weight of everything left unsaid. People call me a monster, a liar, a coward, he said quietly. But the truth is simpler. I was a man in love who made mistakes, and I've paid for them every single day since. Those words weren't quite a confession, but they weren't a denial either. They hung somewhere between guilt and grief, where emotion blurs the truth. Wagner didn't sound like someone trying to clear his name anymore. He sounded like a man who had already sentenced himself. When asked what really happened that November night in 1981, he paused, then whispered, "After I argued with Chris, I went to find Natalie, and she was gone. I thought she needed time alone. I should have gone after her. Maybe she'd still be here." His eyes filled with tears. "I was the last man with her. I can't deny that." That phrase, "the last man with her," became his curse. He repeated it for years, his voice growing smaller each time. Friends said he rarely mentioned Hollywood anymore. The fame, the fortune, the spotlight, none of it mattered. Every talk circled back to her, Natalie, the love he lost and the night that refused to let him rest. He never lived near the ocean again. The sound of waves, once peaceful, became unbearable. He moved inland, surrounded by faded photos and memories too heavy for one man to carry. His daughter Courtney described his days as quiet but heavy. Every time he saw a photo of Mom, she said, he'd go completely silent. You could feel the sadness in the air. It never left him. To outsiders, Wagner still looked like the elegant star from Heart to Heart, polished, charming, smiling for the cameras. But behind closed doors, he was something else entirely. A man hollowed out by love and guilt, haunted not just by what people said, but by what he could never forget. Even at 95, the ocean still called to him, not with peace, but with echoes of that night, the wind, the waves, the whisper of her name. In private notes later shared by his daughter Natasha, he wrote, "She was my compass, my direction. When she died, I lost all sense of where I was going." He lived a long life, but one shadowed by the mystery he could never explain, the missing hours, the sound of the water, the name he never stopped whispering, Natalie. After 43 years, the truth about Natalie Wood's death still drifts between memory and mystery. Robert Wagner's final words revealed no guilt, no innocence, just the unbearable weight of regret, the kind of pain no investigation or interview could ever erase. So here we are, decades later, still asking the same haunting question. Was it a tragic accident, a moment of anger, or something in between? Only 2 people knew what truly happened that night, and one never came back. So what do you believe? Was Natalie Wood's death a tragic accident, or the result of jealous rage? The ocean may keep its secrets, but the whispers will never stop. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Smash that like button if this story hit you. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into Hollywood's darkest mysteries.